So Sherron, let's start with you.
Oh,
you
boy.
just heard in our mission statement that the Junior League is an organization of women committed to developing women's leadership. How can women in particular build financial confidence?
So first of all, I'd like to give a disclaimer to the bio. I am old, that's why mine was long. Older than the two of them, so just that disclaimer. So because I am older, I turned 50 this year. I'm celebrating all year long, so you guys can tell me happy birthday later. And because I have lived through a few generations, we can talk about what has happened through my 3 decades of being in the business world. And a lot of times we as women feel like we have these insecurities that were not necessarily in us. It's brought to us. One of the things that I've always been told when I addressed a topic with men of my generations, which are Gen Xers, is you're too sensitive. So we have to remember whatever our feelings are and how we feel about money, we own it. It is not too sensitive, it is ours, you own it. You own it because we are getting less than our male counterparts in every aspect of our money. Even the wealth advisory, even within our jobs, even within our careers, it's a fact that we're getting less than what. And I believe, I might be biased because I have a vagina, that we're doing better. We do better at the workforce, we do better at our jobs, and we're more meticulous in what we do. So whatever it is, don't be afraid to own it, whether it's with your father, your husband, your boss, your workplace, your friends. Own who you are, be confident in what it is, get yourself educated in finance so you can really own it.
That's great. So as you get educated, I'm sure lots of people realize that maybe they haven't been doing things right before this. So what are some of the most common financial mistakes that you see when you start to dig in with people?
So in my CPA practice, which I've had it since 2007, but I'm winding that down to go more into the education part, is financial literacy. Financial literacy number 1, financial literacy number 2, financial education number 3. There's lots of things that you can learn out there about money. Money is a journey. It's not you're good at it or you're bad at it. It's a journey. It's just like your health. If you eat bad all your life and you think you're fine, and then you start getting older and you realize it's telling on you, that's the same thing with money. You can't say I'm not good with money or I'm great with money. It's a journey. Especially in today's society with all the consumerism we see. I used to be able to window shop on the internet in peace. Now I look at the shoes at Saks and I get 10 emails on how good taste I got. So that consumerism gets me. And I consider myself good with money, so we have to be focused and be intentional. One of the things that I teach with my podcast and my YouTube and stuff like that is intentional money management. Whatever you're doing, do it with intention. If you're having a $7 Starbucks, and I know everybody hates the coffee one. If you're having a $7 Starbucks every day, make sure that's what you want, because opportunity cost and you're giving up something else.
Great. So you talked about financial literacy, and obviously you have the Prosperity Academy, but financial literacy can be a gap in underserved communities. It's something that the Junior League has noticed. How do you believe that nonprofits like the Junior League and others can help address this issue?
So I'm going to be a little controversial. I feel that non-for-profit in general, and I've been in the non-for-profit, I worked for the American Red Cross in New York during 9/11. So I have been in the non-for-profit world for a long time, whether I was working for them or I was volunteering for them. We focus on the Band-Aid to the problem, but not necessarily teaching so I have this saying when I'm talking about money. I talk about motivation, mindset, and mechanics. Mechanics is your great Dave Ramsey stories. For those of who you are older like me, then you know who Dave Ramsey is. Mindset and motivation has to happen if the mechanics is going to work. If the Junior League and the Homeless Coalition and all the different things that are offering the mechanics, which is the money, the food, everything else, and we're not teaching them why they've gotten into certain situation and how they can avoid getting into the situation. Because I have loads of sayings, and one of them is, you know, a mistake is not a mistake if you learn from it. So it's a lesson. So we keep going through these wheels, the hamster wheels, where we keep going around, and it's the same. I was at a Homeless Coalition thing the other day, and it's the same thing. The same people keep coming back, and we're giving them money, or we're giving them this, or we're giving them that, but we're not giving them the tools to get better at it. My parents came here with $100 in their pocket 40-something years ago when I was 9 years old, and they were able to have kids like me that have a nice house in Wellington, Florida, and was able to build my wealth, not through making money with my sweat, taking that money and turning it around and around and around. So if they can do it, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. So I feel like non-for-profits need to focus more on financial education and literacy, and not only for their participants, it's for their staff, because a lot of their staff, they're missing the financial literacy part.
You talked briefly about your parents, and you and I talked beforehand, and we both have 2 kids. I think it's so important to be able to talk about finances with our kids. Growing up, obviously for me, it was a very taboo subject with my parents, and you just talked, you know, a little bit about yours as well. What advice do you have for people on how to weave sort of financial literacy and empowerment into conversations with your kids?
Start when you're starting numbers. It is important for kids to understand the concept of money. It is so much more important now. You see articles where adult children are still getting supported by their parents. Why? It's because we didn't teach them how to, you know, the Bible story goes back to, you give them the fish, they will eat for a day. You teach them how to fish, they eat for life. So that's the same connotation that you would use with your children. My children, we learned how to invest in the stock market during COVID because we had nothing better to do. But both of my kids, we started them with an investment account where it's like their play money. I showed them how I saved their birthday money to buy my older son a condo at UCF for when he was living there. So that is what counts, and we all might say this is a lesson for just money in general. We all might say that a little bit doesn't matter, everything matters. Like my friend Sahili says, everything matters. 2 cents matters. So because their birthday money actually bought my older son a condo 2 miles from the south side of UCF on Alafaya Boulevard. That's worth over $100,000 more now. So everything matters. You start somewhere. If you're starting with $2, you're starting with $10, everything matters. The other thing from immigrant parents that I wish that my parents knew to teach us, and I don't think this is a totally a socioeconomic thing. I think it's just a financial education thing, is that I wish my dad had said when I was putting my $2 in my bank account in 1986, and I was walking with him to the bank at that time, he had said, buy some Disney stock, or taught me more about how do you turn that $2 into $10 and $20 and $30, because if you put it under the mattress like my immigrant parents, you lose. So if your money is not invested at the rate of inflation or above, you're losing. So it's not just about the saving is important, but understanding how you at least have it in a place where it is growing at the rate of inflation or above is important. And kids today, they're fascinated with investing. So that's one of the ways that you can get them started. I started a book on this, but I haven't finished it yet. That's my other stuff.
Well, let me know when that book is ready because I will buy it. Okay, you talked about being involved in nonprofits. Obviously, Corey and Christina, you guys are too. What benefit have you guys derived from being a treasurer, or soon-to-be treasurer, as part of a nonprofit organization?
So my thoughts on the non-for-profit world. Accounting, yeah, you know, when you're a CPA, they always get you to be the treasurer. It's like, I mean, can I do something else, you know?
I tried not to.
But it is, so the other day, I think Maria was there too, we went to a seminar where they did talk about non-for-profit fundraising, and it was with Dan Plata, and we talked about how much non-for-profit is a business and how much we need to treat it more like a business. And one of the things that he said, which resonated with me, I went to just support my friend, but the one thing that he said is that we need not focus on being for-profit or non-for-profit in terms of dollar-wise. We need to focus on what is the problem in the world that we want to solve, and we just go out there and we solve that problem. And that's what I think mostly we need to not focus so much on non-for-profit or for-profit. Yes, there are differences, but if they're treated the same way when it comes to financial reasons, and we just work on solving that problem that we want to solve, then I think that's an eye-opener for many people.
Last question, and I'm sure this applies to some ladies in the room here, or at least some of us have thought of it. But for anyone starting a small business or a side hustle in 2025, what are the first financial steps that you recommend for them?
So one of the things that I have learned in my 3 decades of dealing with clients is that everyone is really, really good at what they're doing. They're good at their profession. But our society lacks business management in anything, whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, even accountants. They're really, really good at their actual profession or the actual professionalism of the things that they're doing, but they really, lack of a better word, suck at managing their business. So I would say concentrate on, spend more time or hire someone that knows on what happens in between the revenue and the net income. So you have your revenue, which is something you guys are all going to be good at, which is your business. Whether you're a doctor, you know how to see patients and you know, crack backs or whatever it is that we do, and you're great at that. I never ever question my clients' top line because that's what they're good at. But in between your top line and your bottom line, there's a lot of things. That's the difference, is what's going to make your business successful or not. It's not how much you make, it's how much you're keeping in every aspect. So, and there's a lot of things that can happen in between those two. So start tracking your expenses and your income right away. Make sure you're using one of the apps that are out there to do that. It's really easy in today's society to track what you're doing. And that's one of the things that I teach on everything that I do, is looking at what you're doing. You might think you have it all in your head, like all my business owners, especially the doctors, hope there's not any of them in the room, they think they know everything and everything is in their head. Even for me as an accountant, I go back years and look at my financials to see what I did, what did I make my money on, what did I spend on certain things, you know, where do I go from year to year, and that, do I need to cut some things, do I need to increase some things, whatever it is, that picture, that number picture, helps you tremendously to maximize your profits.
Okay, last question for everyone. Managing financials can obviously be very stressful. So what do you guys each do to unwind or de-stress?
So I'll watch you do all of that. with my wine. And I seriously mean that. When my kids were younger, I have a 24-year-old and an 18-year-old, two boys, and when they were younger, I watched them play soccer. And sometimes I had to coach when they were shy. So I spent all my time around my kids when they were younger. Now, I still bake. I always bake. Baking is my thing. That relaxes me. And I read suspense romance novels. And I invest in the stock market.
Well, thank you ladies so much for joining us tonight, and can we have a round of applause for our